What's goody? It's Ghiman Mckinney, your boy, or you can just call me Juice. Back with another great video for you guys today. Be sure to like the video right now if you are rocking with me. Subscribe to my channel if you are new as well. I do post a ton of great sports videos like this weekly and almost every single day if I can. Alright, getting right to business. Alright, we're obviously previewing the Atlanta Falcons schedule in 2019-2020. I will give a record prediction for the Falcons in 2019-2020. I'll go game by game. I'll look on the schedule to see where I can find some wins and losses, and I'll see if the Falcons can indeed return to the playoffs and potentially compete for maybe a Super Bowl in 2019-2020. But before I get into the predictions for the Atlanta Falcons schedule, okay, if you are interested in like other NFL teams, I'm going to preview and predict all 32 NFL teams' records in 2019-2020. I have a 2019-2020 record prediction playlist for the NFL where I preview teams like the Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Rams so far. So be sure to check out those teams if you're interested in other teams beside the Atlanta Falcons in 2019 and interested to see where they're going to finish, in my opinion at least, in 2019-2020. I also have a college football 2019-2020 record predictions playlist on my channel. Link will be in the description, okay? Or you can just check it out on my channel. Obviously, the Atlanta Falcons in 2018 had a disappointing season, coming off a playoff berth where they made in 2018, I believe. They missed the playoffs in 2019, only won 7 games, I believe. But man, if you're gonna give a team a pass, I think you have to give the Atlanta Falcons at least somewhat of a pass this past year for how bad they were in 2018, 2019. Okay, because look, they were decimated with injuries. They had 9 players at one point on IR. 9 players. That's a lot of players put on IR. Deion Jones, their stud middle linebacker. He's one of the 5 best middle linebackers in all of football. He's definitely I think he's definitely the best coverage linebacker in all of football. He missed a significant amount of time. Ricardo Allen missed time. Devontae Freeman missed a ton of time. Grady Jarrett missed some games. Neal, their stud safety, missed some time. Derek Shelby missed time. I mean, the Falcons just had injury after injury after injury. I mean, I've never seen a team really more injured, other than my Green Bay Packers, who pretty much have injuries every single year. Okay, but look, the Falcons, I think they're naturally going to get better this year just because they had so many injuries, so many moving parts last year. It's hard to win week to week when your main players are not going to be in the game playing each week. It's always, bringing someone in new. Okay, so the Falcons, I think they're going to be a little bit improved this year, okay? But if the Falcons are going to be improved in 2019-2020, they are going to need to be more balanced on offense, in my opinion. They were 27th in rushing last year. Now, some of that had to do with Devontae Freeman being out for most of the year. They do obviously lose Telvin Coleman this year, so that we'll get to that in a little bit. But they were 10th in points per game, which wasn't bad, but the Falcons were not a very good red zone team last year. They just weren't. They had a lot of field goals that could have been touchdowns. Okay, so can the Falcons offense return to form? Well, I mean, you can clearly see that in the draft, they wanted to address the offensive line. They went out and drafted Chris Lindstorm out of Boston College, who I loved a lot. I think he's a stud. And they also drafted Caleb McGray. So they added 2 stud offensive linemen in the draft, okay, in the first round. I think those were the 2 most notable picks they had. They added Kendall Sheffield, obviously. I'm not very high on him this year, but either way, look, the Falcons' offensive line should be improved. Their offense should be improved, in my opinion, okay? They're going to run the ball pretty well. They're going to protect Matt Ryan. And naturally, with those injuries on defense, I think the Falcons can get a little bit better in 2019-2020. So let's see. Let's dive right into the schedule right now. At the Vikings, Eagles, at the Colts, Titans at home, first 4 games of the season. I think you start off the year 2-2. At the Vikings, I think that's a loss. It's a tough road environment to play. Look, the Vikings added to their offensive line in the draft as well. They already have an elite duo of wide receivers in Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, they have a very good tight end. They have a very good defense. I mean, you look at the Vikings. They really honestly lack nowhere as far as talent. I mean, other than maybe offensive line, where's the Vikings' weakness? Even the weak link Kirk Cousins is pretty good. Kirk Cousins is a capable quarterback. You can make the playoffs and win some playoff games, potentially with Kirk Cousins. It's a tough place to play. I think if you were in Atlanta, I'd pick you. But I think the Vikings defense is better than your defense. I think they'll catch Matt Ryan on a bad day. I think the Vikings beat you in Minnesota the first week of the season. Okay. Then you turn around to play the Philadelphia Eagles in week number 2. This might be one of the best games of the year, in my opinion. Now, the Eagles, obviously, the last couple of games have had your number. In the playoffs, they obviously beat you. It came down to the wire. It came down to Matt Ryan needing to make one play in the end zone. Couldn't do it. Couldn't hit Julio Jones in the back of the end zone. Pretty much the same thing this past year. Week 1 of the season, Matt Ryan in Philadelphia, at Philadelphia. 4th down, I believe, something like that, in the end zone to win the game. Throws to Julio, can't convert. So it's been very, very tight games when you played the Eagles. And I think you actually catch them and beat them at home this year. Okay, like I said, you're not a better team than the Eagles in my opinion. But like I said, with the additions on your defense, because you had so many injuries last year, you're gonna naturally be a better team. And when you're healthy, you're a top 10 team as far as talent goes. You're not better than the Eagles, but you catch them you get them at home, then you turn around after a big win at the Colts. The Colts to me have the best offensive line in football. I mean, your defensive line is good. It's alright. I mean, you got Vic Beasley, who's very inconsistent, by the way. You got Ty McKinley, you got Grady Jarrett, but I don't think you have. I think they're very good. But like I said, to match up with the Colts offensive line, I don't think they can match the physicality of that offensive line. That offensive line is an absolute beast. Andrew Luck's an elite quarterback to me. I think he's a better quarterback than Matt Ryan. You have to go to Indianapolis to play them. They were a playoff team last year. They obviously added Devin Funchess. They added Paris Campbell in the draft. I just can't see you beating Andrew Luck in his house. I think you catch a loss there. But then you'll come on to beat the Titans. Look, I'm not a believer in Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota to me is one of the bottom 5 quarterbacks in the league, right along with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, what a situation that is bad. Ryan Tannehill or Marcus Mariota. I mean, I get blinded by thinking and seeing that on my piece of paper right here. I mean, you'll win that game pretty easily. The Titans have a decent running game. Derrick Henry, they have a pretty good defense, but you're a better team. You'll win that game. The next couple of games, at Houston, at Arizona, the Rams, the Seahawks at home. I think you actually go 3-1 in that stretch. I think you lose at Houston. Look, Houston's a very good team. They obviously made the playoffs last year. Deshaun Watson's the next great quarterback to me. DeAndre Hopkins is a stud wide receiver. I don't think your secondary matches up very well with their wide receivers. Will Fuller, pretty good wide receiver too. Your defensive line is decent, but I don't think it's good enough to exploit the Texans' offensive line. If it was in Atlanta, I'd pick you guys, but I think Deshaun Watson outduels Matt Ryan at home, okay? And then you play at the Cardinals, coming off a loss. I think you'll win that game. Look, Kyler Murray is very talented to me. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback, but again, we don't know. Look, the Cardinals were picking number 1 in the draft for a reason. You don't fix all those issues in 1 year. You don't fix all those issues in 1 offseason. So it's a process with the Cardinals. They're improving. I think they'll be competitive, but I think they're not better than the Falcons this year. I think you win that game on the road at Arizona pretty easily. Then you turn around in the next couple games at home. I think you actually beat the Rams and the Seahawks at home. The Rams to me are a better team than you, but it's going to be a tight game. They did lose to Dominic and Sue on that defensive line. I do think your offensive line has enough firepower to match up with the physicality of the Rams defensive line. I mean, Aaron Donald might be the best player in football, but let's be real. He can't make it for everything, okay? Like I said, I think your offense is just too good. I think Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley can win some matchups versus Marcus Peters and Akeem Talib. If it was in LA, I'd pick the Rams. But you get him at home. It's in your house. I think Matt Ryan's good enough to beat Jared Goff at home. And then you turn around to face the Seahawks. Look, I think Atlanta's roster is more talented than Seattle. I'm not saying they're going to be a better team than them necessarily this year. I think they're about equal. Look, Seattle's a decent team. They were a playoff team last year. But I just think that Matt Ryan's had Russell Wilson's number. Matt Ryan, I can only remember Russell Wilson beating Matt Ryan one time in his entire career. One time. Okay? And I think that was a couple of years ago. So look, the fact that Matt Ryan has Russell Wilson's number, not saying Matt Ryan's a better quarterback than Russell Wilson, but just when they face off, for some reason Matt Ryan usually outduels them, okay? I think you are more talented than Seattle. I think your wide receivers can do some very good things versus that secondary. I think Russell Wilson plays well, but not well enough. I think Matt Ryan outduels Russell Wilson at home in a shootout probably. And then you're heading into your bye week now. You're 5-3, so you're actually on pace to potentially maybe make a push for the division, maybe make the playoffs. We'll see. Okay, but then coming off a bye week, you'll lose at the Saints. You'll beat the Panthers at Carolina, in my opinion. You'll beat the Buccaneers at home. You'll beat the Saints at home. Okay, I think you lose at the Saints. Look, it's a tough place to play. Drew Brees usually wins all his home games. He's gonna win 8 or 7 home games each year. I don't think Matt Ryan can go into New Orleans and beat Drew Brees. I just don't trust him to do that. I think the Saints are a better team than you guys. I mean, obviously the Saints were 1 play away from making the Super Bowl last year, obviously with that pass interference call. So I think the Saints beat you there. You'll beat the Panthers at Carolina. It's a tough place to play, but let's be real. You'll respond off a tough loss. Cam Newton, that secondary, I don't like the wide receivers. I think your offensive line can match up with the physicality of that defensive line. I think you beat Cam Newton just barely. I think you're just a more talented team. I can see the Panthers beating you in their house, but I just don't see it. I think you'll win that game. Cam Newton's never had back-to-back winning seasons. Cam Newton's a roller coaster ride. He's definitely a top 10 quarterback in this league, but he's a roller coaster ride. We don't know what we're getting week to week with him. So I think you win that game. You'll steal that game. Tampa Bay at home. Jameis Winston should be improved, but I have questions about their defense, have questions about their offensive line. Bruce Arians is going to make them a better football team by his coaching alone, but you get him at home, I think you win that game. And then I think you turn around and beat the Saints in your place. I don't think you'll get swept by the Saints like you did last year. I think you're good enough to split with them this year. I mean, obviously you got Calvin Ridley, you got Julio Jones, you got Mohamed Sanu. Your offensive line is going to be elite, close to elite this year in my opinion. I just think that Matt Ryan just barely outduels Drew Brees. I think the Saints can potentially go into Atlanta and win. It was a close game last year. I think this Falcons team is better than they were last year. I think the fact that they improved. I think the Saints will be very good. I think they'll be a playoff team again this year. But I see them taking just a slight step back this year. So I think the Falcons can beat them at home. But then coming off that, I think you take a tough loss to Carolina. Look, I'm just going to go over your next 4 games. I think you actually lose 3 of your next 4 games. I think you lose 3 of your final 4 games. I will explain myself right about now. All right, look, at Carolina at home, it's coming off I think that Saints win is going to be probably the biggest win you've had this season since that Eagles win. It's going to be an emotional win. Usually when teams win big emotional games like this, they usually come down to earth the very next week. So you play the Panthers the very next week. You get them at home, but I think, I could potentially see you winning this game at home, but I also could see you losing at Carolina. I just decided to flip things. I think you'll beat them in Carolina. I think they'll beat you in Atlanta this year. So either way, I have the Panthers splitting with you this year. I think they're just too talented of a team to get swept by you guys this year. Cam Newton's a top 10 quarterback, like I said. They have a nasty defensive line. While I did say that your offensive line can match up with their physicality, I also think the Carolina Panthers can exploit some things versus your offensive line. I mean, Brian Burns, Poe, Gerald McCoy, what's his name? Kawan Short. I mean, that defensive line is nasty. Carolina's always going to have a good defense. Cam Newton, that team was 6-2 last year before falling into a hole when he got hurt, okay? Then, obviously, you're at San Francisco the very next week. I'm high on the 49ers this year. I have already picked them to win 10 games this year. I think the 49ers will be the dark horse surprise team of the NFL. I think they are a dark horse Super Bowl contender. The game was being played at Atlanta. I pick you guys, but it's in San Francisco, a tough place to play. They obviously added Nick Bosa in the draft. They already had DeForest Buckner, who's one of the 5 best defensive tackles in football. They have Dee Ford now. They got Richard Sherman. They got Jason Verrett. They added Tevin Coleman, the running back you guys had a year ago. I think the 49ers actually are a better team than you this year. I really do. The 49ers are going to be improved. They're a good team. They're stacked. There's too much talent on the 49ers to not win games. It's just, it'd be abysmal if they don't win games. The 49ers are talented. They play you in San Francisco. The fact that you play them in San Francisco is why I would give you a loss. I think you catch a loss at San Francisco, but obviously you go home to play Jacksonville. You'll win that game. Nick Foles is an upgrade over Blake Bortles, in my opinion, but there's just not enough firepower on offense for the Jaguars for me to say that they're going to go into Atlanta and compete with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and that offensive scheme that they're going to have in place. I just think that Atlanta's too good of a team to lose to Jacksonville. But then the last game of the year, unfortunately, I have you losing at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be an improved team. I really do. Jameis Winston's going to be improved. Bruce Arians usually gets the best out of his quarterbacks. He got the best out of Carson Palmer a couple years ago when he was in Arizona. There's no excuse for Jameis Winston anymore. I think Jameis Winston realizes this is potentially his last and final year in Tampa Bay if he doesn't perform. I think Jameis Winston realizes the pressure. It's at Tampa Bay. I have you splitting with them this year. I think Tampa Bay is too good of a team this year. Going to be too improved to not split with you guys. And let's be real. You guys lost some games last year you shouldn't have lost. There's no reason Matt Ryan can't choke away some more games. I mean, Matt Ryan choked versus the Bengals last year. He choked versus the Packers last year. The Packers were terrible last year, unfortunately. He choked versus the Browns last year. He choked versus the Ravens last year. He choked versus the Cowboys last year. There's no reason he can't choke versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under Bruce Arians' watch, okay? So with all those things being dissected and said, I got the Falcons going 9-7 this year. I think they improved by 2 games. I think they're a piece or two away from being a serious contender. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll be good. I think the Falcons will be very good, and I think they have potential to make the playoffs. I think they have the potential to even win this division. But I just think the Saints are better than you guys right now. I think this division is very competitive. The NFC is going to be a dogfight. I don't particularly like your road schedule. I don't think you have a favorable schedule. Okay, so again, Matt Ryan, he chokes away some big games every now and then. I mean, he might be good one week, the very next week he might be terrible. So we don't know what Matt Ryan, okay? So we have to see. I think this Falcons team is good enough to be over 500. I think they'll compete. I think they'll compete potentially for a wild card or even the division title spot. But hey, I just don't see them being necessarily a Super Bowl contender just yet. They might be a year away, but hey, they're going to score some points. They're going to play some good defense. They'll naturally improve because they had so many injuries last year. 9-7 for me is appropriate this year for the Falcons of 2019-2020. That's a wrap for this video. Be sure to like the video right now if you're rocking with your boy. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Share this channel with all your friends. Share this video with all your friends. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. Get people hip to my channel. I want to become a sports analyst when I get older. I want to become one of the next Stephen A. Smiths. I want to become one of the next Colin Cowherd. I want to potentially make this into my own big-time network. I want to potentially go to ESPN or Fox Sports 1 when I get older. I want to become a sports analyst when I get older. I think I'm building something special in this YouTube channel. So just be sure to tell people about this channel. Get everyone hit to my channel. Get people subscribe. Get people liking videos. Get people watching this content. I think I'm bringing out some of the best content out there. I appreciate you guys for all tuning in. It's been your boy, Ghiman Mckinney. God bless you guys. Have a blessed day. And I'm out. God bless.